was a cold, cloudy, and convenient day in Nigeria's capital city, Abuja. Eagle Square once again comes alive, this time for the 2019 presidential inauguration. President Muhammadu Buhari's second four-year term of office had started on a good note, with his formal swearing-in by the then acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Ibrahim Tanko Muhammad. Also sworn in was Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. The national and defense flags were lowered and hoisted respectively, signifying the end of an era and beginning of a new political dispensation. The event, a low-key affair, could best be described as a significant transition from the change agenda to the more promising next-level agenda.
We will continue to do our best with the limited resources available to us relative to our requirements.
What are the expectations? Good governance, greater prosperity for our people, security in the land, development, and the provision of everything that pertains to a good life for the people of this country.
At the end of this second term, when the president will also have concluded his term, he will leave viable legacies for Nigeria.
June 12, Nigeria's New Democracy Day, provided the opportunity for President Muhammadu Buhari to give insight into what Nigerians should expect in his second four-year term of office. He said a bold plan for transforming Nigeria is underway towards bequeathing a sustainable legacy of peace, unity, and greater prosperity. Addressing dozens of heads of state and government from Africa and beyond who converged in solidarity, President Muhammadu Buhari described as unshaken his optimism about Nigeria's future.
Throughout my adult life, I have been a public servant. I have no other career but public service. I can therefore do no more than dedicate the rest of my life to work for the unity of Nigeria and the upliftment of Nigerians. We are revived by this new mandate to work collaboratively to rebuild and reposition our country as a heartbeat and reference point for our continent. With leadership and sense of purpose, we can lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 10 years. We can do it.
None but the most partisan will dispute the fact that the Buhari administration has made solid progress in addressing Nigeria's fundamental challenges of security, economy, and corruption. To consolidate on the achievements recorded, correct the lapses inevitable in human endeavors, and tackle new challenges facing the country, President Muhammadu Buhari expanded the Federal Executive Council from 36 to 43 members, the largest since the rebirth of democracy in 1999. The ministers, 29 newly appointed and 14 returnees, were chosen by President Muhammadu Buhari to, amongst others, share his commitment to working tirelessly towards a future where every Nigerian can reach his or her potential.
The majority of Nigerians who voted for us gave us a clear mandate. A, to enhance the security of lives and property across the entire country. B, to create a diversified and inclusive economy that will bring prosperity to all. And C, to install governance and accountability in our systems and processes, thereby eliminating corruption. Therefore, all ideas and projects that will contribute to achieving these goals shall be foremost in our deliberations. We must not fail them.
New ministries were created, with some having their functions restructured as a deliberate attempt at enhancing effective service delivery in the country.
We also created a Ministry for Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster management, and social development to fully institutionalize our various interventions that support some of the poorest and most distressed citizens of our country. Furthermore, we split the Ministry of Power, Works and Housing and Ministry of Transportation and Aviation to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of our infrastructure delivery programs and projects.
And as the Buhari administration marks the first anniversary of the second four-year term of office, how far so far?
Mixed fortunes, but by and large, it's been a good one, and we are in pleasant places despite the challenges.
The president can be said to have delivered on his mandate. He has not come short of the expectations of reasonable Nigerians.
Despite prevailing challenges, the Buhari presidency has neither shirked its responsibilities nor lost strength or momentum in the implementation of the next level agenda towards achieving sustainable future for the country.
You realize that the president was elected in 2015 on the fulcrum of three cardinal pivotal points. That's securing the nation, diversifying the economy, and fighting corruption. And when we went to the 2019 election, that didn't change. Those were the thrust of the election theme. And I can say without any fear of contradiction that we have kept faith with Nigerians on all these three areas.
The economy had been primed for recession by the time the government came. It went into recession, but it's to the credit of government that it didn't stay long in that recession. Within a year, it was out. And things began to look up. The indices were quite good. And then came 2020 when things should get better. Then coronavirus showed up. Now we've been told that the economy is on the verge of another recession. But there is still good news, even in that seemingly bad news. And the good news is that that recession may not last long because the fundamentals of the economy are very good. The challenges have been quite stiff, but government has proved to be up to it.
With the desired leadership, guidance, and direction provided by President Muhammadu Buhari, appropriate actions have been galvanized towards addressing the nation's fundamental public concerns and developmental challenges with the next level agenda as the new critical pathway. Consequently, efforts at ensuring that the Nigerian nation remains firmly secured for effective management were intensified. The armed forces of Nigeria were not only reinforced and empowered with increased investment in arms and weapons, but the morale of their personnel also got boosted, thereby rolling out the most significant response to Nigeria's multifaceted security challenges since 1999. Remnants of the largely degraded Boko Haram elements are now being smoked out from their hideouts and neutralized, with many of them surrendering to the firepower of the nation's troops.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. You have done well for us, and you are still doing for us, and we appeal to you to continue in this direction.
Hitherto, all the major roads to Borno State are closed, inaccessible, with the exception of the Maiduguri-Kano road. Sporadic bombings and killings, even within the metropolitan city. Close to about 20 local government areas were displaced.
I would like to assure all Nigerians that Mr. President is fully on board. Mr. President is committed to doing whatever is necessary to reduce the spate of violence and insecurity in the country. He is also committed to spending whatever resources he has at his disposal to bring a quick end to all the issues affecting Nigerians and bringing a lot of sorrows to Nigerians.
He has achieved enormous progress curtailing Boko Haram terrorism, which was the problem as at the time he took over. He was challenged by farmers' herders clashes and ethnic crisis. These have been settled. The president has been challenged, is being challenged by banditry, cattle theft, and needless killings. A major operation is currently ongoing as we speak in the most troubled part of the country, which is the Northwest.
And with the re-establishment of the Ministry of Police Affairs, efforts are now well coordinated in developing and implementing strategies that will enhance Nigeria's internal security in synergy with other security and intelligence agencies.
Security of lives and properties of Nigerians is a constitutional obligation. It is for this reason that I have always prioritized the police as a critical agency in the internal security architecture of our country. My vision is to bequeath to our nation a legacy of a reformed, modernized, fully equipped, highly motivated, and citizen-focused police force that is reoriented to the virtues of professionalism, respect for rule of law, due process, and best international practices in their operations.
Mr. President, you can be rest assured of our commitment in ensuring that the Nigeria Police is properly positioned to drive the next level of security agenda of the federal government.
We shall sustain our blueprint of modernizing all components of our operations towards addressing any form of threat to our internal security.
Peace now reigns supreme in the hitherto hostile areas of Nigeria, and the economy better for it. And talking about the economy, key stakeholders were thoroughly engaged and critical policy decisions taken towards maintaining macroeconomic stability, managing the oil price shocks, and placing Nigeria on the path of sustainable inclusion and diversified growth.
The second tenure of President Muhammadu Buhari, especially in the first 1 year, the trajectory was very, very good in terms of even our GDP. We had experienced in the second and the third quarter a growth rate of 2.55 and 2.27. Even in the first quarter of 2020, in spite of the onslaught of COVID-19, there was still some evidence of growth in our GDP. Our economy is diversifying. The gains that we have made from the non-oil sector has been remarkable in terms of generation of wealth and businesses and employment. But we have now been caught in the midst of this turbulent virus that is ravaging the entire world. But I believe that we will get out of it. With the resilience of Nigerians, I believe that with the strength and determination of Nigerians, I believe that we will get out of this and we will get out of it stronger.
Some of the schemes championed by government towards supporting farmers and agriculture includes the Anchor Borrowers Program of the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Presidential Task Force on Rice, thereby unlocking the potentials of the rice subsector of Nigeria's agroeconomy.
We were spending about $3 billion to import rice yearly, but that has stopped because up to 90% of our rice need is met locally through local conservation of rice and other grains. Beans, maize, millet. Nigeria is not importing any form of grains. And we have saved a lot of money. And there is food security in the country.
If we hadn't had this Anchor Borrowers scheme, the reform in agriculture and the rice growing program, this country would have been in serious trouble feeding herself, because even nations from where you bought rice, some of them are now imposing a ban on export of rice because they don't know what the consequences of COVID will be on their own agriculture. So they are holding on to the rice that they have. They are not selling abroad. So if you had relied on this sense of import, $5 million every day spent by Nigeria, and today not a single US dollar from our central bank going to buy rice abroad. And rice, we are not hungry, food is available in the country. Yes, I think that these are lessons that we need to take away and will be held on to. Otherwise, everything would have been lost.
For the Buhari administration, addressing the nation's infrastructure deficit remains a matter of priority towards enhancing socio-economic development of the country. Billions of dollars or trillions of naira have been invested on power and roads development in all parts of the country, as well as new and existing national rail lines as vehicle towards rebuilding the economy and putting resources where necessary for national prosperity.
Our government in the past 5 years has embarked on critical infrastructure development and rehabilitation projects across the country. Our goal is simple. We will develop quality infrastructure that will bring prosperity to millions of Nigerians in both urban and rural areas.
You have the Owerri interchange, which is part of the second Niger Bridge project. It was flagged off again last week. And then you have other projects coming on. The Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, the Abuja-Kano Expressway. It is on record that there is no state where a major federal road project is not ongoing now. By the time it finishes, those projects will have been completed.
There is no nation in the world that has achieved industrialization and national development without investing in infrastructure. And the realization that we had waited for too long to realize it is the discovery in President Muhammadu Buhari.
Corruption and other economic crimes which had eaten deep into the fabric of the Nigerian society is perhaps the reason Nigerians renewed President Buhari's mandate for another 4-year term. The nation's anti-corruption agencies like the EFCC and ICPC never had it so good in the discharge of their mandates, especially in exposing and bringing to justice those who abused public trust.
No government has ever made the numbers and the amounts of recoveries as this present government under the leadership of His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari has been able to achieve. Just of recent, about a couple of weeks ago, we had funds that were stashed abroad in the US and returned. About $300 million was returned. So that has been the story of recoveries. The EFCC and other anti-corruption agencies have been on the trail of goods and resources that have been inordinately appropriated by people who have had the responsibility of managing the affairs of this country. And you can see the level of forfeitures that we have achieved, either temporary or permanent forfeitures of properties. Some of them have even been deployed for isolation centers in the fight of COVID-19.
So people must look here, look there before they commit wrongdoing, because they know that you just can't get away with it on account of who you are or who you know.
During the period under review, world leaders continued to honor and associate with President Muhammadu Buhari for his integrity, honesty, and selflessness in service to his country and humanity. For the Nigerian leader, every opportunity counts and must be utilized towards ensuring that his people's interests are protected and their desires achieved for a sustainable future. And this informed his participation at the Future Investment Initiative Conference in Saudi Arabia, UK-Africa Summit in London, and Russia-Africa Summit in Sochi, where he also engaged their leaders on areas of common interest, including the resuscitation of the Ajakuta Steel Company.
The most important that we're taking away from here is the fact that Ajakuta will work. So it gladdens my heart. That is something that we can do. And of course, the Russians were the original builders of Ajakuta. And after so many years, we've come back to them, and we have a firm promise, especially from the president of the Russian Federation, that Russia is willing to come in, and of course Ajakuta will work before Mr. President completes this second term.
You know, steel is a bedrock of industrial development, and once we are able to bring back Ajakuta on stream, I think Nigeria will spring up and the sky will be the limit.
The last 3 months, however, is characterized by concerted efforts at controlling and containing the coronavirus pandemic, which without doubt constitute a major setback in the nation's drive towards achieving sustainable growth and development.
COVID-19 has not only come to destroy our health, but also to destroy our wealth. And COVID-19 is the most phenomenal disaster, health disaster of this generation. I can assure you that our response has been robust. Our response has been informed by science. It has been informed by data.
The Buhari presidency is, however, not allowing COVID-19 to weaken its efforts at genuinely taking Nigeria to the next level of development. Nigerians, the administration insists, must keep hope alive for a better future.
President Buhari had the foresight. Let me tell you what he did. In addition to the presidential task force that was set up, he went ahead and established 3 different committees, mindful of the fact that there is life after COVID-19. First is the Economic Sustainability Committee, chaired by the Vice President, His Excellency by the Vice President. Before then, he has set up a small committee chaired by the Honorable Minister for Finance, Budget and National Planning. One is looking at how do we survive economically in the midst of COVID-19. The second one, how do we thrive and retool our businesses post-COVID-19. In between, he felt that there was need to set up another small task force headed by the Minister for Agriculture and Rural Development to ensure that farming activities are uninterrupted, so that after COVID-19, we will not have a worse COVID-19 kind of virus, which would be hunger. There's a 3 trillion naira agri facility introduced by a central bank. The essence of that is that we should keep manufacturing and agricultural activities open to ensure that whatever adverse impact COVID-19 has brought on our manufacturing, our wealth creation institutions, we are able to recover as quickly as possible so that our people will begin to have a new lease of life.
And I think this is why you are able to see the appreciation coming from the World Health Organization, commending President Buhari as being a role model for other nations to copy. The ECOWAS sub-region has met and said, look, you are the champion for COVID. So at the end of all of these things, I assure you that President Muhammadu Buhari will emerge as the COVID hero, not only in Nigeria, but in the entire continent of Africa.
But even in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, President Muhammadu Buhari signed an Executive Order 10 towards guaranteeing the independence of the state judiciary and legislature.
The Executive Order 10 now makes it mandatory in fulfillment of provisions of the Constitution to ensure that these organs of government, which are key and important, work, that they get their resources that will enable them work.
That is the hallmark of democracy, really. Because what is democracy if you don't have an independent judiciary? What is democracy if legislature of states are under the control and tied to the apron strings of government? He who controls the purse, controls the freedom of that institution.
What the president has done is perhaps the greatest safeguard that anybody can put in place for a democratic system of government to thrive in any given country.
With 3 more years remaining in the execution of his second 4-year mandate, one thing remains certain. Even the most partisan will agree that President Muhammadu Buhari is providing leadership by example. Issues relating to political affiliation, sectional interests, and primordial loyalties do not becloud his patriotic obligation towards shifting the nation's trajectory on the path of sustainable growth and development.
The ultimate ambition President Buhari ever had in his life is to serve the people of Nigeria. It's not because of the grandeur of the office. I believe that genuinely from the depth of his heart, That is all he wants to do, to ensure that the lives of the people of Nigeria become better after his 8 years in office.
I think history will be very kind to him, very, very kind to him, because a lot of legacies will trail the president by the time he leaves office.
President Muhammadu Buhari will be remembered as the president of infrastructure, no matter how long it takes, because by the time he leaves in office, you have all of these railway schemes in place, the power availability is enhanced and covering virtually most parts of the country, and the roads are done, the bridges. No, I think that this president is doing a great deal of good for the nation, and if we don't appreciate it now, people who come after us will surely do so.